situation is, but you don't need to know these to know that shit is not going well. We know what it feels like to be broke, desperate, to find that even when we have income, we can't scrape enough together to pay all of our bills, or get health care, or eat well, or have daycare for our kids. And when we do work, we're working harder and longer for less pay than ever before. In California, the official unemployment rate is around 11%. The official unemployment rate for Black people is 14.5%. In Oakland, the official unemployment rate matches the national average, around 8.5%. But when you look a little closer, it's not such a rosy picture. When you break down unemployment by zip code, you find that unemployment in East Oakland is almost twice the national average at 16%, and West Oakland isn't far behind. It's combining these numbers with the 2.5 unemployment in the hills that accounts for a lower unemployment rate than the state average. Within these numbers, there's no exact way to calculate the missing workers. Those who have given up looking for jobs, been cut from their benefits, forced to retire early, or chosen to eliminate one family income due to hardships. Right now, there are 5.4 million missing workers, almost half of whom are under 35 and statistically more likely to be parents of small children. This effectively doubles the unemployment rate nationally. The poverty rate in Oakland is listed at 20%, which is already really fucking high, but this is based on federal standards that don't come close to taking into account the high cost of living in the Bay Area. An income that makes you poor in Tennessee makes you destitute in Oakland. What has Obama done to improve life in Oakland and the Bay Area for poor and working class people?
What have he done?
Nothing. He doesn't care about us, but you can bet that he'll be here next week at the Fox asking you to give him money so he can be elected and forget about you again. When Barack Obama was elected, people were invigorated. His words truly brought millions of people hope, but he's been nothing but a disappointment to us. A part of the stress and pain many people are feeling right now isn't just the burden of being broke. It's that they finally felt there was a light at the end of the tunnel. But that light bulb is just as broke as us. We've been betrayed by the promises of Obama.
Liar!
Barack Obama promised to be a president for the people, to take care of folks, to be fair. While unemployment benefits are cut, Barack Obama spends $720 million a day on war. Instead of being the president of the lowest poverty and hardship, he's the president of the most deportation, the most drone strikes, and the most troops in Afghanistan. He can't find the money to feed us and house us, but there's money for bailouts of the very banks that are stealing our homes. There's never money for the things we need, but we're told to rest assured there will always be more money for cops. We're told that we must vote for him because the Republican alternative is worse, but that is false. Yeah, Romney is fucking despicable, and we don't want him either. But in nearly every tangible way, Obama has been more of a Republican than even Bush. He defunded Planned Parenthood, was the first president since Reagan to authorize the military to break a labor strike, organized the nationally coordinated violent repression of Occupy, increased surveillance and spying on Americans, allowed massive cuts to education, increased military spending and privatization of the military, signed the most free trade agreements since the start of NAFTA, and has increased ICE deportations and border policing levels to levels never seen before. They can't blackmail us anymore with the idea that things could get worse. Things are worse. We have never been able to count on a president to have our interests at heart. We need to stop waiting for some Superman president or political party to rescue us and start taking care of each other now. Instead of waiting for someone to bail us out, we can bail each other out. We can vote with our actions rather than continue to prop up a system that is polishing the mansions of the rich with our blood, sweat, and tears. We have the capacity to have each other's backs, to feed each other, clothe each other, house each other, and care for each other. These are revolutionary acts, and they are within our means so long as we stick together. 93,947 people receiving unemployment benefits. I and these millions have lost our means of capital support because of the corrupt, greedy, and irresponsible practices of people who run banks, corporations, and our government offices. Major media are in line with these people as they give 15 times less coverage to the unemployed than to the subject of reducing the debt. My personal experience was that I was laid off from my job in 2009. I received unemployment benefits for 2 years while looking for a job. The money I received was only enough to barely get by. I could not pay many of my bills. I am despised and criminalized by my government and the media because for not having a job and for being poor. So sisters and brothers, one of the massive jobs that's on the chopping block are the postal jobs.
That's right.
That are held by hundreds of thousands of postal workers in this country.
Right there.
And what is the government doing? You know, they found 18 trillion or 16 trillion to bail out the banks and the mortgage companies who are still foreclosing on our home and evicting poor people, but they can't find the money to subsidize and keep the post offices running.
That's right.
For years.
Where's the money?
For years. Well, we know where the money
know.
is. It's lining the pockets of the 1%. I'd like to introduce Dave Welsh to talk about this important campaign.
All right, all right.
Well, you know, sisters and brothers, they're trying to close the Berkeley post office, and the big real estate company that's going to be handling the sale, along with the sale of thousands of other post offices across the country, is called C.B. Richard Ellis. And the main stockholder, one of the main stockholders, is Richard Blum, who's the husband, the billionaire husband of Dianne Feinstein, our senator. So you can see the corruption. They're trying to eliminate something that's of great use to the people. To prisoners depend on the mail. Poor and rural neighborhoods especially depend on those post offices. And they're also trying to destroy living wage jobs in our communities.
That's right.
These jobs are the anchor of many of our communities.
That's right. That's right.
And it used to be excluded. It used to be people of color couldn't get a job in the post office. Then now it's a place where people can get a decent living wage job.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing about the federal government. We're here in front of the federal building.
That's right.
In the 1930s, there was a tremendous upsurge. There was unemployed councils in many cities across the country. That when somebody would be evicted, the unemployed council would take the furniture and put it back in the house. They mobilized in the streets. There was the bonus army in the early 30s.
That's right.
The bonus army were people who had been veterans in World War I, who were in that miserable war where people just mowed each other down and people just slaughtered. And the survivors of that war were promised a bonus. But they didn't get it, and they didn't get it, so they had a march on Washington, D.C. They came from many states of the country, and they established a camp with tents, just like Occupy, in Washington, D.C.
Right.
to demand their bonus.
That's right.
And what was the response of the government?
They shot him.
They shot them down, they burned their camp. And General Douglas MacArthur, that they named the BART station after, and General Dwight D. Eisenhower were among the criminals who shot down those poor veterans who were just asking for what they were promised, their bonus.
That's right.
In the middle of the Great Depression. Then Gary mentioned earlier about the Poor People's March of Martin Luther King. It was another tremendous march that went to Washington, D.C. and set up camp. And they eventually tore that one down too. But we have to revive, we have to take the example of these courageous forefathers of ours.
And for mothers.
Build it again! And build it again! Build it bigger and more strong. Yes. You know, as a result of this movement in the streets in the 1930s, the administration was forced to create the WPA, the Works Progress Administration, which created 8 million government jobs for the unemployed people in the Great Depression. By today's standards, comparing the population, that would mean 30 million, which is approximately the number of unemployed and underemployed people in this country today. So they have the means. They have the means to provide a job.
Let's make them.
We have to make them, because they rely on this reserve army of the unemployed to keep the wages down.
That's right. That's not
So brothers and sisters, I don't know who else is supposed to speak at this stop. Are we ready to go on to the next stop? We're going down the street to the State Building. To the State Building, where Jerry Brown has got his axe out too for the people. So let's move on down.